He was never supposed to return. And certainly not like this. One knock at the door, and suddenly, the past I thought I buried came crashing back. Older, taller, darker. My step-grandson, Mason. What did he want? Why now? The silence between us was deafening, charged with memories, regret, and something else I couldn't quite name. The moment I saw him, something in me shifted. Could one unexpected visit unravel years of distance, secrets, and unspoken truths? Or was fate simply playing a cruel game? You won't believe what happened next. Subscribe to Vows and Betrayals for more haunting tales that cut deep. The jagged edges of the splintered wood pierced my knees as I crouched in the shadows of the backyard, grappling with a fence post that had surrendered to time long before I had even begun the fight. Sweat trickled down my forehead, a stark contrast to the chilling March air that surrounded me, while my hands throbbed from the relentless battle against the obstinate, time-worn grain. Then, like a whisper in the night, the sound emerged, gravel crunching beneath tires, slow and deliberate, each crackle echoing the tension that hung in the air. My gaze remained fixed, anchored to the ground, as if the very act of looking up would unleash a torrent of chaos I wasn't prepared to face. I found myself paralyzed, unable to move, as the weight of the moment pressed down on me like a heavy fog. The choice loomed before me, dark and foreboding, and I was trapped in its grasp. Couldn't. The fence loomed before me, a silent sentinel that required my undivided attention. Yet deep down, I sensed the impending arrival of a figure I dreaded to confront. The car door slammed shut, a sound so sharp and final it echoed through the night like the ominous crack of a gavel, sealing fates and igniting tension in the air. With a heavy heart, I inhaled sharply, my rough hands brushing against the worn fabric of my jeans, and at last, I dared to raise my eyes to the unknown before me. There he stood, Mason, a lone figure cloaked in shadows, the duffel bag hanging precariously from one shoulder, his outline stark against the dying embers of the afternoon sun. He surveyed the house with an unsettling curiosity, as if it were a long-lost relic that might not remember him after all this time. He stood before me, transformed by the relentless passage of time, his once boyish softness now chiseled into a hardened edge that sent a shiver down my spine. At 28, he had transformed from the restless teenager I once knew, a whirlwind of wildfire energy and towering big city dreams, into something far more complex and enigmatic. Yet those eyes, his father's eyes, dark and inscrutable, remained untouched by time, holding secrets that whispered of untold stories. "You've got a lot of space out here, Diane," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper as he let the bag thud ominously against the porch steps. The words lingered in the air, unadorned yet burdened with an unshakable weight. "Too much?" I whispered, my voice barely escaping my lips as I brushed the dirt off my palms, a shiver racing down my spine. The silence that ensued loomed ominously, a vast chasm separating two souls who, despite their shared history, remained strangers in the shadows of unspoken truths. He stood at the precipice, a shadow among shadows, knowing deep down that he didn't belong in this place. The air was thick with tension, every heartbeat echoing like a warning in the silence. Why was he here? The answer loomed like a specter, haunting him with the weight of unspoken truths. He existed in a realm far removed from mine, where towering skyscrapers pierced the night sky, and the air was thick with the pulse of life. A world so vivid, so intoxicating, that I struggled to conjure its image in my mind. Yet an unseen force had pulled him back to this decaying house, to me, as if the very walls whispered secrets of the past, beckoning him into the shadows of our shared history. Within the dimly lit room, I found myself consumed by the ritual of pouring coffee into the worn, chipped mugs. My hands moved with an unsettling calm, yet my mind twisted in a chaotic dance of thorns, each thought sharper than the last. "How much longer do you intend to linger in this precarious moment?" I inquired, attempting to sound nonchalant, but the effort fell woefully short, leaving an unsettling tension in the air. A moment stretched into eternity as Mason spoke, his eyes darting to the window, as if it concealed secrets that eluded my grasp. I find myself yearning for an escape, a moment to breathe amidst the chaos that surrounds me. I nodded, a shiver running down my spine, though the truth eluded me, slipping through my fingers like sand. The city loomed before me, a vast empire of shadows and secrets, or so I had once believed. What kind of haunting twist of fate could draw someone back to a place like this? As twilight descended, the sun sank beneath the horizon, casting the sky in a haunting tapestry of bruised orange and deep violet, a foreboding omen of the night to come. He stood there, a solitary figure against the twilight, arms crossed tightly as if bracing himself against an unseen storm. His gaze pierced the horizon, a desperate search for answers in the vastness, as if the very world before him threatened to engulf him in its depths. Do you ever sense that life has slipped through your fingers, leaving you grasping at shadows of what could have been? He inquired, his voice slicing through the heavy silence like a knife, leaving an unsettling tension in the air. I exhaled, the suffocating weight of the question pressing relentlessly against my ribs, as if it were a dark, secret yearning to escape. Every single moment. In that charged moment, silence enveloped them like a thick fog, stripping away the veneer of civility. Two souls stood on the precipice, daring to confront the unvarnished truth that lay between them, a truth so potent it crackled in the air, waiting to be unleashed. And in that fleeting moment, the suffocating loneliness that had haunted me for years flickered like a dying ember, threatening to extinguish the last remnants of hope. Just a whisper of it. As dawn broke, the air hung heavy with an electrifying chill, piercing through the stillness like a whisper of danger, awakening every nerve with its icy grip. I stepped onto the porch, the warmth of my coffee contrasting sharply with the chill of the morning air. And there he was, Mason, his silhouette emerging from the shadows, stretching in the eerie gray dawn light. Each breath he took escaped him in fleeting clouds, a ghostly dance that sent shivers down my spine. I had him marked as someone who greets the dawn with open arms. Are you truly awake at this hour, every single day? I inquired, my body pressed against the doorframe, the weight of uncertainty hanging in the air. With a faint grimace, he rolled his shoulders, the weight of old habits pressing down like a shadow lurking just out of sight. The pulse of the city thrummed beneath the surface, a cacophony of whispers and shadows, where every corner held secrets waiting to be unveiled. The skyline loomed like a fortress, its towering structures casting long, ominous shadows that danced in the flickering streetlights. In this urban labyrinth, the air was thick with anticipation, each moment teetering on the edge of revelation, as lives intertwined in a delicate balance of fate and chance. I took a slow sip of my coffee, my heart racing as I watched him jog away, his silhouette diminishing against the endless expanse of the land, the lake looming ominously in the distance. His presence was an unsettling force, shattering the silence I had meticulously woven around myself, a fragile shield against the chaos of the world. Yet, it lingered in the shadows, an uninvited presence that had yet to reveal its true intentions. Later, I discovered him lurking by the fence, his gaze fixated on the chaos I had carelessly left behind the day before. In a chilling silence, he seized the hammer from the abandoned toolbox, its cold metal glinting ominously in the dim light, and began to strike the post with relentless fury. With a heart pounding in my chest, I paused for a fleeting moment, the weight of uncertainty heavy in the air, before finally stepping into the unknown alongside him. The relentless rhythm of our hammering echoed through the silence, a steady thud-thud-thud that filled the void where words dared not tread. I never imagined I would witness you engage in such work, I murmured, my brow slick with sweat, the tension thick in the air. He smirked, a fleeting glimmer of mischief piercing the veil of his carefully constructed facade. There are shadows lurking in the depths of my past, Diane, secrets that could unravel everything you think you know. His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken secrets, sending a thrilling shiver down my spine as I was drawn into the depths of his meaning. I held back, resisting the urge to push forward. Instead, we pressed on, our hearts racing with anticipation. As we finally stepped back, a breathless silence enveloped us, and we beheld the post, now standing resolute and straight, a testament to our relentless effort. It may not have been flawless, Yet within its seams lay a fragile triumph, a glimmer of hope woven into the fabric of the day. That fateful night, Mason lay sprawled on the creaking porch, his fingers trembling as they flipped through the pages of a dusty photo album, a relic unearthed from the shadows of a forgotten shelf. Each turn of the page whispered secrets long buried, beckoning him into a world of memories that threatened to unravel everything he thought he knew. "You look different here," he said, his voice laced with an unsettling curiosity as he held up a snapshot of me. In that fleeting moment, I was younger, brighter, captured mid-laugh. Yet the shadows of the present loomed ominously behind us, threatening to unravel the very fabric of that joyful memory. A fleeting glance sent a shiver through me, as the relentless ache of time began to settle deep within my chest, a weight that threatened to consume me. "We all transform," I whispered, the weight of the words hanging in the air like a storm about to break. "Yeah," he whispered, his voice sinking into a chilling hush. "Some, it seems, bear the weight of shadows more heavily than others." The storm descended with a vengeance, a primal howl of wind and rain that assailed the house as if it were desperate to breach its defenses. As I stood in the kitchen, sifting through a drawer filled with yellowed papers, bills, letters, fragments of a life that felt like a distant memory, the lights suddenly flickered, plunging me into an unsettling darkness. A profound, resonant silence enveloped the room, thick with tension and anticipation. And then, the echo of his footsteps pierced the silence, each step a harbinger of uncertainty and dread. The darkness enveloped everything, a suffocating silence that whispered of uncertainty. "No power." The words echoed ominously in the stillness, a harbinger of the unknown lurking just beyond the shadows. Mason inquired, his figure poised against the threshold, the darkness swallowing him whole as his shadow elongated ominously in the faint light. It seemed inevitable. I sighed heavily, my fingers pressing against my temples as a storm of pain began to gather within me. With a swift motion, he seized the flashlight from the counter, its beam igniting the darkness like a sword piercing the night. Shadows danced ominously around him, as if hiding secrets waiting to be uncovered. "It seems we are ensnared in this moment, with no escape in sight." I nodded, relinquishing the papers, as he settled into the chair opposite me at the table. The flashlight flickered between us, its beam slicing through the darkness, casting ominous shadows that danced across his face, revealing a tension that hung thick in the air. In the suffocating silence of the night, he murmured, as if the shadows themselves were listening, "This house feels different in the dark." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken fears and lurking secrets. "It's eerily quiet," I whispered, the weight of silence hanging heavy in the air. "It plunges you into a whirlpool of thoughts, each one more consuming than the last, leaving you teetering on the edge of revelation and despair." He scrutinized me, a shadow of something enigmatic dancing in his gaze. "Is that truly a curse, lurking in the shadows?" My heart raced as I hesitated, the air around me thickening with an unshakable tension. "It all hinges on the thoughts that swirl in the shadows of the mind." A fierce gust of wind slammed against the windows, and for a heartbeat we remained frozen in place, the storm's furious howls outside seeming to claw at the very fabric of our silence, desperate to drown out the palpable tension that hung heavy in the air. Then he leaned back, his arms stretching wide, as if reaching for something just beyond his grasp, the air thick with anticipation. "Have you ever contemplated the idea of departure, the thrill of the unknown beckoning you to escape?" A shadow crossed my face, a frown deepening as uncertainty loomed in the air. "Is it truly time to abandon this forsaken realm?" Embracing the unknown, a new chapter unfolds. His lips remained a tight line, betraying no hint of joy. Why not, indeed? What lies beneath the surface of that simple question? A world of possibilities, a cascade of choices waiting to unfold. The air thickens with anticipation, as the answer hangs precariously in the balance, poised to tip the scales of fate. What secrets might be revealed? What paths might be forged? The tension crackles, urging you to delve deeper into the unknown. The question lingered in the air, a palpable weight, suffocating and undeniable. The relentless rain hammered down, a deafening symphony that trapped us within these walls, where shadows danced and whispered secrets of the past, ghosts we could never escape. As dawn broke, the tempest had finally exhausted itself, surrendering to a suffocating silence that hung in the air like a shroud, heavy with the weight of what had transpired. I immersed myself in the mundane tasks of scrubbing the kitchen counter and folding laundry, desperately trying to drown out the haunting echoes of the night before that threatened to pull me back into their dark embrace. Yet, avoidance stands as a fragile barrier, trembling on the brink of collapse. I discovered Mason in the living room, his fingers dancing over the pages of an ancient tome, the silence that enveloped us crackling with an unsettling tension. The air between us crackled with unspoken tension as I sat across from him, my fingers trembling around the warm mug of tea, the silence stretching like a taut wire, ready to snap at any moment. Then, as if summoned by an unseen force, he relinquished the book and drew nearer, each step heavy with anticipation. It began with a lingering stillness, a moment suspended in time, a breath held in anticipation, before the storm of fate unleashed its relentless grip. Our hands brushed briefly, sending a quiet tension through the air, and in that fleeting moment, everything changed. I was caught in a whirlwind of uncertainty, unable to process the gravity of what was unfolding before me. A moment of closeness caught us off guard, changing everything in an instant. In an instant, the world came crashing down, shattering the fragile illusion that had enveloped me. I recoiled, my heart pounding violently within the confines of my chest. He gasped, a sharp breath escaping his lips as his fingers tangled in his hair, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. That felt like a line we may have crossed too quickly. I whispered, my voice trembling with uncertainty. He remained silent, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. Instead, he stood there, pacing with a clenched jaw, the tension in the air thick enough to cut. Every step echoed with unspoken dread, as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting for the storm to break. I should go, he said finally, his voice sharp and laced with an unspoken urgency. I nodded, a silent agreement hanging in the air, yet my body remained frozen, caught in the grip of an unseen force. He seized his jacket, lingering at the threshold, a storm of unspoken words swirling in his mind, as if the weight of the moment demanded he reveal something profound. With a heavy heart, he forced it down, the weight of his decision lingering in the air as he turned and vanished into the shadows. The silence that enveloped the room was suffocating, a chilling, echoing emptiness that seemed to stretch into eternity. I sat there, my heart pounding, fixated on the haunting void where he once stood, a chilling realization washing over me. Nothing would ever be the same again. The house loomed larger in Mason's absence, the silence transforming from a soothing balm into an oppressive force, suffocating me with its relentless grip. I glided through the shadowy corridors, a specter in my own home, deliberately bypassing the living room, as if evading its haunting presence could somehow obliterate the memories that lingered there. Yet, memories remain unyielding to the confines of geography. Days stretched into an agonizing silence, each tick of the clock echoing the emptiness left in his absence. I fought against the rising tide of despair, convincing myself it was for the best. A mere mistake, a fleeting lapse in the grand tapestry of fate. But deep down, a storm brewed, whispering secrets of what could have been. I plunged into my daily rituals, sweeping the porch and nurturing the garden. Yet each action echoed with emptiness, the oppressive silence closing in around me. Then one fateful evening, as the sky bled into a deep, bruised purple, his car ominously rolled back into the driveway, a harbinger of the secrets it carried within. My breath hitched in my throat, yet I remained anchored in the kitchen, my hands quaking around the dishcloth like a fragile leaf in a storm. The knock echoed through the silence, soft yet deliberate, sending a shiver down the spine of anyone who dared to listen. With a trembling hand, I grasped the cold doorknob and slowly turned it, the creaking hinges echoing in the stillness of the night. What lay beyond was shrouded in uncertainty, a world waiting to reveal its secrets. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open, my heart racing as shadows danced in the dim light. He stood there, his gaze piercing through the shadows, a man adrift in the labyrinth of his own thoughts, haunted by the weight of unspoken truths. A chill ran down my spine as I recognized that look, a silent harbinger of the storm that was about to unfold. He hesitated, the weight of his uncertainty hanging in the air like a storm about to break. "I wasn't sure if I should come back," he confessed, his voice gravelly, laced with the tension of unspoken fears. I crossed my arms tightly, a storm of uncertainty brewing within me, questioning if I was truly prepared for what lay ahead. "And yet, against all odds, here you stand." He let out a breath, his fingers tangling in his hair as if trying to grasp the chaos swirling within him. In that moment, a heavy weight settled in my chest, a gnawing fear that lingered in the shadows. I couldn't bear the thought of departing with unresolved tension, of leaving the air thick with unspoken words and lingering doubts. It felt like a storm was brewing, and I was caught in the eye of it, desperate to find a way to calm the chaos before it was too late. A moment hangs in the air, thick with anticipation. The atmosphere surrounding us was electric, teetering on the brink of collapse, as if one wrong move could send everything spiraling into chaos. "It's far from simple," I murmured, my voice trembling on the edge of a secret, barely escaping my lips. "I know," he whispered, his voice barely breaking the heavy silence that enveloped them. The silence loomed once more, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths that hung in the air like a storm about to break. In that tense moment, silence enveloped him like a shroud, and with a trembling hand, he delved into his pocket. What emerged was a small object, glinting ominously in the fading light. He placed it delicately on the porch railing, then retreated, his heart pounding, as if the very air around him held its breath. As I gazed downward, my heart raced at the sight of a set of ancient keys, their surfaces weathered and hauntingly familiar, whispering secrets of the past. My breath caught in my throat. They were not his, they belonged to me, the spare set I had entrusted to him upon his arrival, a precaution for unforeseen circumstances. Little did I know how crucial that decision would become. As I spoke, his eyes locked onto mine, a silent tension crackling in the air between us. "These belong to you," I said quietly, my hand tightening around the keys as silence settled between us. They felt warm to the touch, as if echoing the intensity of the moment before. Something unspoken yet unforgettable. For a fleeting heartbeat, I held my breath, convinced he would utter the words that could shatter the silence, that he would stretch out his hand, bridging the chasm between us. In that heart-stopping moment, uncertainty gripped me like a vice. Would I have the strength to break free if he chose to leave? But then, with a simple nod, he turned away, retreating to his car, leaving a chilling silence in his wake. The engine roared to life, a primal sound that shattered the silence of the encroaching night. He sped away, the taillights flickering like dying embers, swallowed by the deepening shadows of dusk. I lingered in the shadows, long after he had vanished, the cold metal of the keys digging into my palm like a warning, a reminder of the choices that lay ahead. Relief loomed on the horizon, a promise of a clean break, an ending that whispered of freedom. Yet, the shadows lingered, casting doubt on the very notion of closure. Yet, in the depths of my mind, a haunting realization took hold. For the first time in years, someone had slipped away, leaving behind a fragile thread, a tantalizing promise that I could still summon them back into my life. And just like that, he was gone. No dramatic goodbye, no final confession, only silence. A silence that echoed through every hallway, every heartbeat. I stood there, alone with the keys still warm in my hand, wondering if I had just lost the last person who truly saw me. There was no closure, no forgiveness, just memories, twisted and tangled like vines around a heart that would never beat the same again. Sometimes the ones we need most are the ones we push away, and sometimes we don't get a second chance. If this story left you breathless, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Vows and Betrayals, where every tale cuts deep and lingers longer than you'd ever expect.